Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Short-Term Rentals. And thank you so much, TJ, for being again in our studios to talk more about this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And today we're gonna talk about managing a property, but when you're outside of the state. So how do you go about doing that? In the case of, for example, cleaning, that's a really big one. How do you make it for finding the perfect cleaning team for that property that you don't have in your state?
Yeah, so when you're looking to find a cleaning team, especially for teams that, properties that is not in your particular marketplace, there's still multiple ways to do it. Two top ways that I recommend. Well, actually, there are three ways I recommend. For one, networking, right? I always mention for folks who are looking to do business outside of the States to start building relationships with other hosts in that marketplace that they're looking to get into. You'll be surprised how many times that they'll refer you amazing cleaners. So the best cleaners are ones that you've known has provided great service to other hosts. So cleaners that come referred usually tend to be less risky than finding cleaners that you just find from anywhere else. So another good way is through Facebook groups. Let people know, join the Facebook groups in the marketplace that you're looking to invest in. Most marketplace has a Facebook group for Airbnbs. So join the Facebook group. And if your particular market doesn't have one, you're probably in a pretty small market, then join the closest, biggest one that you have that's close to you, the biggest market that's close to you. Join that Facebook group. So, and make your request known. You'll be surprised how many cleaners will start clamoring for your business the moment you put the, hey, I'm looking for a reputable cleaner in these areas. And they're gonna wanna get your business. And cleaners that are tapped in, they're gonna say, hey, give us a chance, give us a chance. You can find cleaners that way. You do business with one, if they do a good job, interview them, however your process is, and keep them on the team if they do a good job for you. And then lastly, you leverage technology. One of the best things I always like to say about this business is that it was birthed at the age of technology. So we have technology like Properly. We have technology like Turnover B&B. These are cleaning management softwares, but cleaners in the local community subscribe to these softwares as well. That way you can create a checklist and you can send out your jobs and let them bid for your jobs. And when they bid for your jobs, you pick one, let them clean it, interview them, however your process is. If you like them, keep them on the team. And so those are three very good ways that you can find cleaners, even remotely, outside of your particular marketplace, because even those softwares, they're localized. If you create a software and you pick whatever marketplace to be your market, it's the cleaners in that market that will subscribe to that for that area. So those are three great ways to find cleaners, even outside of your marketplace.
And what about, and that's in the case of cleaning, but what about in the case of maintenance? How do you find those handymen that are gonna come to the rescue whenever something breaks?
So I mean, again, referrals. Referrals are probably gonna be one of the best ways to find handymen. I was kind of fortunate because I was remodeling properties and doing long-term rentals, executing the BRRRR strategy, buying deals creatively, before I got into doing short-term rentals. So I know I've worked with contractors, I've worked with handymans and maintenance people before. So I just kind of brought on one of the maintenance guys that was handling my long-term rentals. I just trained him on how we can provide that same maintenance service for the short-term rental side. And so I was kind of fortunate in that sense, but if you haven't been doing real estate, you don't have that connections, referrals, of course, one of the best ways. The best contractors or really team members that you'll find are gonna come from referrals because they provided an excellent service for another host. So outside of that is using sites like Handy, right? You can find maintenance people there and they can come perform maintenance tasks for you, handy.com. And as soon as they do, if you like them, say, hey, what if I keep you on my team? I can call you up for any maintenance issues that we need. What kind of deal can we set up? Is it better if I put you on retainer? Are you charging a flat fee for every call out? Like what does that look like? So you can find cleaners that way as well. I mean, maintenance people, I should say, that way as well. So multiple ways to find maintenance, even outside of your marketplace, 100%.
And the beauty of this is that we are in the technology era, so you always have so many resources outside to help you become the best host that you can be, even if you're not in the same market as your listing is. Now, what about supplies? How do you make it for stocking up on, I don't know, soap, toilet paper? What are the supplies that you recommend we should definitely have if we're hosting a listing all the way across town or whatever? And what are some of the companies that you work with?
So I would recommend the more in bulk you can buy, the better. Well, of course, this is as you scale, right? But we like to just buy in bulk, right? So Sam's would be your best friend. Go ahead and get that Sam's membership. Go ahead and get that Costco membership. And we order our toilet paper, tissue, our coffees, consumables, our teas, those are all from Sam's. We get them from Sam's. We're able to order them in large bulk. So I recommend getting those, getting the membership. Costs a couple $100s a year, whatever the case may be. Get the membership, it's worth the investment. You're able to save a lot of money and buy them in bulk. Don't also sleep on Amazon. Cool. Amazon has a lot of, toilet paper in bulk, especially if you have an Amazon business account. So I recommend getting an Amazon business account because they have like business pricing on certain bulk items.
Nice.
And so definitely Amazon business is another great way you can shop for like massive amount of product at one time. So yeah, with that, we just keep it simple. We don't even complicate it.
And in the case of delivery of all of these products, because like if you're out of the state, do you go and deliver it to a certain warehouse, or do you deliver it to the manager? What's your process like?
Right now, we deliver all of our stuff to our cleaners. Right?
Oh.
So the cleaners, where they want us to send it to, we send it to that cleaning team. A lot of times they might have an office or whatever the case may be. You may be working with a mom and pop and you might just send it to their house. So we send it to the cleaners. Well, we found that that's the most easiest. And because that way they can go out and distribute it. Now we are working on like our own central office for our business now. So now everything will be sent to our office because we're also building a storage area there as well. So, but of course, not everybody has that. We doing boutique hotels, so we want to do that. To provide a different kind of experience for our guests, to be able to come drop off codes and, kind of wait out some time if they need to kill some time, have a lounge area, TV, things like that. So just to increase the experience. So with that, we're going to have like a storage area where we're going to be shipping everything to. But outside of that, you could just send it to your team. That way they have it directly and they can go out and distribute it to your units when they go make the trips.
Especially because I feel like your field team, I keep saying field trip. I guess I want to go on a field trip.
I know, right?
But your field team, they are in constant contact with the property more than you as the owner. Yeah. So at that point, they would know exactly what the unit would need. And the more times that they go and start cleaning on that same unit, they're going to see a certain pattern of which things get used first. So they're like, I'm going to make sure to bring a little more of this one item because I know that they're going to need it because they do love this one feature of the apartment. Thank you. So now what about smart locks? Is it important to invest on them? What are some of the advantages of investing on those smart locks?
Yeah, I always say that you should set up your business to where it works for your business model, right? Not only do we use smart locks, but it's in the DNA of our entire business model because that's one of the most important automation tools that you can have. Just think about what the kind of experience like a hotel brings. They're not using physical keys. Why in the world would you use a physical key for your short-term rental when even the entire short-term rental industry is birthed like now in the age of technology? Don't go and use such a prehistoric tactic for people to get checked in. For one, they will lose the key. It's not if they lose the key, it's when they lose the key. And now you gotta worry about that. You gotta deal with that. And so you gotta add, whether you deal with it or your team member deals with it, it's an inconvenience that could be easily avoided. So what we do is we have automated locks that are in every door. Matter of fact, it's one of the logistical checks that we do whenever we approach a property, especially when we want to arbitrage it. If we're looking to arbitrage a unit, one of the things that they have to agree to is to allow us to put our own locks on it. It's just a requirement. If they won't let us, then we can't do business.
Not working.
On to the next opportunity because I go where I want it. You know what I mean? So, so if they won't let me put the locks, it's too crucial to our business. It's a systematized, automated fashion. We have it to where the codes are always the last 4 digits of our guest's cell phone number. Ooh. So that way it's easy for them to remember it. And then, they get checked in and, they can use their code and it starts the day that they check in. It disables in an automated fashion the day that they check out. And so we like Quickset for our locks. We also like Sledge for our locks. Yale is another good recommendation as well. Honestly, we are likely looking into Yale heavily because we just kind of like matter of fact, I'll say this. When we first kind of got started, we started using the August locks. The August locks were great. they had their own issues because they were dependent on the Wi-Fi connection.
Oh no.
And so a lot of times that August lock, it plugs in the way it was. Well, not the lock itself, but sometimes like the Wi-Fi router is plugged in, right? Or maybe you might have a repeater in one of your rooms to extend the Wi-Fi speed into the other side of the house. As soon as the Wi-Fi connection is severed for any reason, maybe somebody just unplugs it and plugs it back in, or just tampers with it anyway, boom, your locks are disabled.
Oh no.
It disables your locks right away. So that was one of the issues that we were having with it, was the fact that it kept like just disabling for multiple reasons. Sometimes it would just disable on its own.
Oh,
so
wow.
we went to a reliable system. That's why we switched to the Quickset. But now August and Yale have like a partnership, because Yale locks are very dependable. And so now there's that's why we're looking to do the Yale locks as well. You can have a lock system to where, hey, as soon as somebody books, it sends them a random code. Right, it can send them, and Yale does this as well. You can send them a random code, and that code starts their check-in time, and it'll automatically disable as soon as the checkout time, whatever time that you set. And so you can automate this process. And guest checking in, we talked earlier. We've talked before about the guest experience, right? That check-in process has to be dialed in. Part of that is that lock system, very important component to that check-in process. So, I don't care which lock system you use, just use one, 100%.
Especially because I feel like, let's imagine that you have one of your guests that is like coming at midnight, super tired from a huge medical conference, and they are trying to get into their apartment. It can't get into that place. Gosh. That just gives a bad experience.
It's happened to me.
No way.
Oh yeah, I've went through everything. I mean, everything. And honestly, it's kind of what makes me the host that I am now, and why I'm able to educate people the way I am, because I've made all the mistakes, all of them.
So did you have any experiences when you had like a certain issue with the bad luck or something?
Oh,
like that?
yes.
Tell us about it then.
Well, I mean, the overnight situation, we had a guest that was checking in at 1 a.m.
Oh,
right?
wow.
They drove in, right? And honestly, the way our systems are set up, after 4 p.m. you can check in. Check-ins at 4, no matter what time you want to check. You want to check in at 3 a.m. the next day, you're good. Because our locks, your code is set, you're good. And if there's any issue, call us. Remember, we got 24-hour coverage, because we have assistants, right, that can help you. And if there's a lock issue, we can reset it remotely. It's another thing. You want remote control. We're talking about this conversation is about even managing from a remote property, right? Remote market. So you want remote control to where you can set the locks, you can reset it right where you at. So our assistants have that access. So, but we've had actually more than one issue of lockout situations. Oh yeah, because sometimes when you set the code, maybe it didn't register properly. You thought you set the code, but it really didn't register, and now they can't get in. Or yeah, we've had that happen. Or we've had an issue to where there was there was like the lights went out in the area. There was a black, like the lights went out in the area. And it sucks because now our lock is depending on the Wi-Fi, right? And so we have no Wi-Fi, now they have no way to get in. You know what I mean? So we now have lock systems that's one of the reasons why I like the Yale as well, because it has its own built-in kind of Wi-Fi systems where it's not depending on any other system. So no matter what, somebody can get in. Even if you have, that's another recommendation I have. Get a lock that you can set an emergency code. That way, if anybody's code doesn't work, your guest code doesn't work, at worst case, they can get in by using an emergency code. That's right. So that's another thing that I recommend. But yeah, we've had lots of that issue because, and these were a lot earlier in our journey. And so we didn't really have the system out of it. We just got to get up and go handle it. Like, I've gotten up at 1 a.m. to go let guests in. I've had to do that because we didn't have the right system dialed in the beginning of our journey. So yeah, I've been through it all. I made all the mistakes.
And I mean, it's part of like the beginner journey, I guess, into getting into the super house that you are in right now.
Oh yeah.
And then again, it's super cool that you are sharing your experiences with all the audience that we have out there, because I guess as a new person that is starting into the short-term rental business, it can be scary to have those mistakes. But hearing someone that already has the experience and also seeing how to solve those issues definitely helps us be more confident. Now, what about, you mentioned staying like super in content communication with your guests. So how much do you communicate with your guests?
So I recommend when you're looking to, your guest checks in. So I'll tell you exactly what we do. We, of course, we communicate with them throughout before they get checked in. So we send out like the check-in instructions. Of course, we communicate with them, confirm the booking. We thank them and all that. We send check-in instructions days before they check in. Usually, depending on the property, it could be 3 days or maybe 4 days before they checked in, but most of them are 3 days. So they get check-in instructions then. Then on their check-in day, they get additional check-in instructions, and they also get a call from us just to make sure that they're good, you know, if they need anything from us, and they get checked in okay, if they have any questions about the check-in instructions or anything like that. So they get that as well. And so we communicate that, and then once they get checked in, the very next day at 10 a.m., every day after a guest gets checked in, they get an automated message that gets out just checking on them, say, hey, hope you're having a 5-star stay. Because it's a mind thing, right? We keep introducing this, hey, hope you're having a 5-star stay. Let us know, just checking on you, let us know if you need anything, we're here for you. Very next day at 10 a.m., every day, every guest. So that gets sent out. And then of course, if they anything in between, we communicate with them. But other than that, we leave them alone until it's time to check out. And when it's time to check out, they get checkout instructions. And our checkout instructions is not like daunting to where we're having them clean their units and, you know, oh, you got to go do all this, you got to go wash the dishes and all that. No, we don't do all that. The most we have them do is just strip the beds if they can. So if you're able to, and understand, we let them know if you're not able to do any of these, it's fine. That's why we have cleaners. But if you can't help us out, strip the sheets from the bed, you can just leave them on the floor, throw the towels on the floor, whatever the case may be. If you can, just load the dishwasher. It's not mandatory, you don't have to. If you can, load it up and our cleaners will take care of everything else. So, and that's pretty much it. And we let them know, you know, that we appreciate them for staying with us. And that's the extent of our communication. Then after they get checked in, after they get checked out, they check out at 11, 2 o'clock the next day. 2 o'clock on the day they check out, 2 p.m., they get another message thanking them again.
Oh, wow.
And then asking them to, don't forget to leave us a review.
That's amazing.
That's how it goes.
And it's really cool that you're actually with them, I mean, virtually at least, checking on like how their experience is going and also thanking them. I feel like that's a really important part because like in any business, you got to make sure that your customer is truly happy with the service that you're providing. So you, by checking in with them, even after they're long gone from the apartment and everything, you are still being that human being that is like caring about the guest, not just a machine that is like, oh yeah, you just came to my business, thank you.
No,
like, no, like I feel like it gives more of a human feel to what short-term rental is, because it's so easy, like given so much technology that is involved in it, to make it way too cold. Does that make sense? But I mean, by having that constant follow-up with them, it truly makes them feel that they are heard of.
Yes.
And what about, you mentioned that there's like a certain check-in process that you give to your guests, also a checkout process. I believe that you would also give them house rules.
Oh yeah.
And in the case of the house rules, how do you go about communicating those rules?
So you know, you can have your house rules. A lot of these OTAs, even your own direct booking site, you should have set a section there to where all your house rules are spelled out. And you should be pretty stern with your house rules. Your house rules should almost scare them. It kind of should, because you shouldn't be like just nice and we're like, oh, we're cool, whatever. You can, you know, you can't do this, but no, we're like, hey, you can't do this. You know, shutdown time is at this time. Like, we can't be after hour, like 10 o'clock, we can't be like having loud music, or depending on the property. We can't be having loud music. Like, all your rules should be strict. You should have rules on the amount of people that's coming to your property. You should have rules on everything that matters to you. And one of the things that we do is we enforce it. Like, we enforce it by putting a dollar amount for breaking it, right?
Oh.
If you smoke in our unit, it's $1,000.
Oh my
We increased it to
goodness, wow.
$2,000. We increased that to $2,000
Wow.
because a lot of people, they want to smoke really, really bad.
Oh my gosh.
And so what they'll do is they'll just say, no, we'll just smoke. We'll just pay the fee. We'll just pay the fee, it's fine. And so they'll just smoke. They'll do whatever the heck they want to do. And so we had to make it a little bit more scary. So, all right, $2,000 now if you smoke, and that's in the house rules.
Now they're like, ooh,
they're a little more,
it hurts a little more.
hesitant. What's great though is that we all of our units, we provide options for them to balconies, patios, especially the ones that we own. I always make sure we have patios, balconies, out seating areas, like lounge areas outside, like to where you can go out and, you know, smoke what you want out there. And but just no smoking inside. You smoke inside, yes, $2,000. Easy call. We're gonna get it too. We're gonna come for it. And so, you know, because it's an entire process, you gotta get the ozone machine in there, get the smoke out. You got, you know, a lot of times they might burn your table because they don't have an ash.
Sometimes you even have to wash like the carpets because of the smell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing we tell them, like, no, you can't light anything. We don't light candles. All of our properties, we don't even do gas stoves. And the ones that, if we can control it, like some of our arbitrage properties, they have gas. We can't control that. That's not a deal breaker to do arbitrage, right? So if it has a gas stove, if we rent it, fine.
You can work with.
We can work with that. But there's no reason why, if you own it, there's no reason why you shouldn't have an electric stove. I wouldn't recommend gas stove for multiple reasons. For one, we had a situation.
Oh no.
Oh man. When I tell you, I've been through it all. We had a situation. My very first short-term rental was a house that I owned. It's a 3-2. I put a gas range in it. That's my first one.
Right.
I put a gas range in it. And what happened was, this happened twice actually.
Oh no.
The first time we're cleaning, and she accidentally twisted that knob of that gas range just ever so gently. But you can't tell that it's on. It wasn't on. It wasn't even making that clicking sound.
Oh no.
It wasn't. It was just a little bit of gas was seeping out. Well, when that little bit of gas seeps out for 2 days,
that
so
just
gas checks in. Cleaner's clean. She while she was wiping, she accidentally just brushed that knob. And that knob is interesting because you have to push it in a little bit for it to turn. So she accidentally just brushed it, and it turned just ever so slightly.
No.
And so we had a guest check in 2 days after. They checked in, the place just smelling of gas. And they called me right away and said, hey, it smells like gas in here. I said, okay, step away from the house. Just drive away. Don't even go in there. Drive away. And we ended up having to put them in another unit. And so, of course, let the window up. We had to come in, do an ozone, get the whole gas smell out. And then it happened again.
Oh, no.
This time it was a guest kid that accidentally turned that knob, right? And so these are things that you got to think about. And of course, I wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't experienced that, right? So that's why we don't do any gas ranges. If we can help it, we do all electrical ranges.
Fire hazard.
Oh, it's 100%. And so that experience also, because we don't want open flames either. We don't want you lighting candles, none of that. And that's in the house rules. So some people might be okay with that. Understand, your business is your business. Like whatever fits for you, but this is just what works for us. And so, you know, we don't allow any open flames, none at all. No candles, no none of that. So because it could be a little more risky, right? So that's in our house rules. So your house rules, very stern, be concise, be direct, put a dollar amount for violating it, put a dollar amount in there for violating it, and you'll be in pretty good shape.
And I would say in the case of, like, for example, candles and things like that, be creative and also find other ways to bring a nice scent into the house. I mean, there's like those tiny little plug-in things that you can put and bring an amazing smell into the house, and maybe provide a certain variety in case that they don't like that one. They can just
there's you know, what do you call those things that just smell good? I don't know, humidifiers. There's all kind of things that you can use.
That's right.
To get the vibes going and get you know, for it to smell good. So yeah, no, but we just don't allow open flames. Nope.
Well, thank you so much again, TJ. And thank you to our audience. Now you know you can just be super creative and have the best experience for your guests in your short-term rental properties. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Next one.